The moment arrives without warning. Your finger hovers above the buy button as the price approaches your entry. You've analyzed this setup 100 times. Your rules are clear, your plan is solid, and yet something inside you hesitates. This is the moment where fortunes are made or destroyed, not in the complex analysis or the sophisticated strategy, but in this 3-second window where emotion collides with execution. You feel it, don't you? That subtle current of fear running beneath your calculated exterior, or perhaps it's excitement, that dangerous surge of anticipation that whispers promises of wealth and vindication. Either way, emotion has entered the trading arena, and your money is now at risk. I've stood where you stand now. I've felt the grip of emotion tighten around my discipline at precisely the wrong moment. I've watched in horror as fear kept me from taking valid setups, and as greed pushed me to hold positions long past their logical conclusion. The psychological battle of trading has cost me more dollars than any market movement ever could. Here's the paradox that defines your journey as a trader. Complete emotional detachment is impossible, yet emotional trading is consistently unprofitable. The path to consistent results doesn't lie in becoming an emotionless robot. It lies in developing a relationship with your emotions that serves your long-term success. What separates the amateur from the millionaire isn't the absence of fear or greed. It's the presence of a psychological framework that transforms these emotions from enemies into allies. The rules of trading are simple. The psychology that allows you to follow them consistently is extraordinarily complex. And in that gap between knowing and doing lies the single greatest edge available in any market. Today we'll bridge that gap together. The market doesn't just test your strategy, it tests your entire emotional infrastructure. Each price movement sends signals not just to your analytical mind, but to the primitive parts of your brain that evolved long before trading platforms existed. Understanding this psychological mechanism is your first step toward mastery. Watch what happens when a trade moves against you. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, a subtle tension grips your shoulders. Before your conscious mind has even processed the dollar amount at risk, your body has already initiated its ancient response to threat. This isn't weakness, it's neurobiology. The same physiological response that protected your ancestors from predators now threatens your trading account. In the face of perceived danger, your brain prioritizes immediate survival over long-term prosperity. Fear narrows your focus, distorts your perception of probability, and pushes you toward action, any action to escape the discomfort. But fear isn't your only enemy. Greed follows the same neurological pathways, creating an equally destructive effect on your decision-making. When a position moves in your favor, dopamine floods your system. This neurochemical reward makes you feel invincible, leading to premature position sizing increases, abandoned rules, and the dangerous belief that your current winning streak represents a new normal. The temporary euphoria blinds you to risk, just as fear blinds you to opportunity. The most insidious aspect of trading psychology is how emotion disguises itself as logic. You don't consciously decide to break your rules. You rationalize why they don't apply in this special circumstance. Your mind creates compelling narratives. This setup is better than my usual entries, or the trend is especially strong today. These stories feel like analysis, but they're emotion wearing the mask of reason. Every profitable trader I've mentored has faced this same battle. They've all experienced the temptation to move stop losses when the market approaches them. They've all felt the pull to enter trades that weren't in their plan because the fear of missing out became too intense. They've all watched as temporary indiscipline led to cascading psychological damage. The consistency required for trading success remains elusive because most traders focus on controlling emotions rather than understanding them. This misguided approach leads to frustration, as trying not to feel fear often intensifies it. True psychological mastery comes not from suppressing emotion, but from transforming your relationship with it. Consider the professional trader who loses 6 figures in a single day yet sleeps soundly that night. This isn't because they feel nothing. It's because they've integrated emotion into their process rather than allowing it to override their process. Their confidence isn't based on individual results but on long-term statistical edge and flawless execution. The amateur focuses obsessively on money, checking account balances after each trade and defining success trade by trade. The millionaire trader focuses exclusively on process, trusting that proper execution will produce the desired results over time. This fundamental difference in mindset explains why two traders can use identical strategies yet experience dramatically different outcomes. Your rules and strategy matter far less than your psychological ability to execute them consistently, particularly when market conditions trigger your most challenging emotions. The technical edge that separates profitable systems from unprofitable ones is measured in percentage points. The psychological edge that separates consistent traders from inconsistent ones is measured in multiples. And this brings us to the crucial revelation that transformed my own trading career and the careers of countless traders I've worked with since. The revelation that changed everything for me came after blowing up my third trading account. I wasn't failing because my strategy was flawed. I wasn't failing because I lacked knowledge. I was failing because I fundamentally misunderstood what it means to trade with zero emotion. Trading with zero emotion doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means feeling everything and executing anyway. Let that sink in for a moment. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, greed, frustration, or excitement. The goal is to develop a trading process so robust that it functions perfectly regardless of what you're feeling. This distinction isn't semantic, it's the difference between continuous struggle and consistent profitability. Every millionaire trader I know experiences the full spectrum of human emotion. They feel fear when the market moves against them. They feel excitement when positions go their way. They feel frustration when they miss opportunities. But there's a crucial difference in how these emotions integrate into their trading process. Amateur traders allow emotions to determine actions. Professional traders allow emotions to inform awareness while actions remain governed by rules. Consider how this manifests in real trading scenarios. When an amateur trader feels fear as a position approaches a stop loss, that emotion becomes a command. Move the stop. When a professional experiences the same fear, it becomes information. I'm feeling fear. This is normal. The stop remains where my plan placed it. The emotion itself doesn't change, but its role in the decision-making process transforms entirely. This psychological framework isn't just powerful, it's liberating. You no longer need to wage an exhausting internal war against your emotional nature. Instead, you acknowledge emotions as they arise while maintaining a disciplined commitment to your predefined rules. The energy previously spent fighting feelings now fuels flawless execution. Developing this framework requires a fundamental shift in how you conceptualize trading success. The amateur trader evaluates success by dollars gained or lost on each trade. This creates a psychological roller coaster where self-worth rises and falls with account balance. The professional evaluates success solely by adherence to process. A losing trade executed perfectly represents success. A winning trade that violates rules represents failure regardless of the dollar amount gained. This process-based definition of success creates the psychological stability necessary for long-term profitability. When your identity isn't tied to individual trade outcomes, you gain the emotional freedom to execute consistently over time. The confidence that emerges isn't the fragile confidence of recent profits, but the unshakable confidence of knowing your edge will manifest through disciplined execution across hundreds of trades. The psychological transformation begins with a simple but powerful reframe. Trading isn't about being right, it's about being precise. Amateur traders crave the validation of correct market predictions. They attach ego to analysis and feel personally vindicated or rejected with each price movement. This creates an emotional dependency on outcomes that destabilizes decision-making. Professional traders view themselves not as predictors but as risk managers, executing a probabilistic edge with clinical precision. They don't need to be right on any single trade because they trust their system's mathematical advantage over time. This shift from prediction to precision destroys the emotional power that individual trades hold over your psychology. When a trade loses, nothing meaningful has been said about you, your analysis, or your future as a trader. A losing trade is simply one iteration in a long-term probabilistic process, an expected and accounted for occurrence in any robust trading approach. Now let's address the specific emotions that most frequently derail trading performance: fear and greed. These primal responses can't be eliminated, but they can be channeled through specific psychological techniques that transform them from liabilities into assets. Fear emerges whenever uncertainty coincides with perceived risk to resources. In trading, this creates a powerful inhibitory effect, preventing action when opportunity presents itself. The amateur attempts to suppress this fear through affirmations or false confidence. The professional takes a radically different approach. They integrate fear into their decision-making process by asking, what specific information is this fear providing? Often fear signals unacknowledged flaws in analysis or preparation. Instead of fighting the emotion, use it as a diagnostic tool. Ask yourself, am I feeling fear because this trade violates my rules? Is my position size appropriate for my risk tolerance? Have I clearly defined my exit criteria? These questions transform fear from a paralyzing force into a refined instrument that strengthens your trading approach. Greed functions through similar psychological mechanisms but creates the opposite effect. It drives excessive action when restraint is warranted. When positions move favorably, dopamine and anticipation create an almost irresistible urge to deviate from planned exits or increase exposure. The amateur surrenders to this urge, often abandoning disciplined position sizing in pursuit of maximized gains. The professional recognizes greed as a signal to return to their predetermined plan, knowing that emotional escalation leads to inconsistency. The psychological pattern underlying both fear and greed responses reveals a crucial insight. Emotion intensifies precisely when rules matter most. The moments of greatest emotional pressure coincide exactly with the moments of greatest financial consequence. This isn't coincidence but causation. Your nervous system correctly identifies pivotal decision points and responds with heightened alertness. The problem isn't the emotional intensity but the untrained response to it. Here's the practical approach used by every consistently profitable trader I've encountered. They don't try to change what they feel, they change what they do. This approach manifests through specific psychological protocols that transform abstract principles into concrete actions. Let me share the 3 most powerful protocols that my most successful students have implemented. First, the 3-breath rule. Before executing any trade, take 3 full, deliberate breaths while mentally rehearsing your complete trade plan. This creates a pattern interrupt between emotional impulse and market action, inserting a crucial space for rational evaluation. This simple practice has prevented countless impulsive entries among the traders I've mentored, preserving capital that would otherwise have been surrendered to momentary emotional pressure. Second, the pre-commitment protocol. Before market open, document exact entry criteria, position size, stop placement, and profit targets for every potential trade. This external commitment mechanism prevents the real-time rationalization that emotion enables. When the market presents a setup, execution becomes binary. Either it matches your predefined criteria or it doesn't. This eliminates the psychological negotiations that erode discipline during active trading sessions. Third, the emotional documentation practice. After closing each position, record not just the technical details but the emotions experienced during the trade's life cycle. This builds the self-awareness necessary to recognize emotional patterns before they influence decisions. Traders who maintain this practice develop an almost preternatural ability to identify when emotion is coloring their perception, allowing for immediate correction before capital is risked. These protocols aren't theoretical, they're the practical application of the psychological principles that separate consistent professionals from struggling amateurs. The traders who implement them transform trading from an emotional battlefield into a disciplined business operation. The most profound aspect of trading psychology is how it compounds over time. Each moment of disciplined execution, despite emotional pressure, strengthens the neural pathways that support consistent performance. The professional trader doesn't have more willpower than the amateur. They've simply accumulated thousands of repetitions of choosing process over emotion. This creates a virtuous cycle where psychological strength builds upon itself, eventually becoming the default response rather than a continuous struggle. Consider how this psychological compounding manifests in real trading careers. The new trader experiences overwhelming emotion with each trade, fighting internal battles with every decision. The developing trader still feels intense emotion but has built the discipline to execute despite it. The mature trader experiences emotion as background information while execution flows automatically from established protocols. This progression isn't mystical, it's the natural result of consistent practice and proper psychological framework. The millionaire trader achieves a state that appears to be trading without emotion to outside observers. The reality is more nuanced and more powerful. They trade with complete emotional awareness but zero emotional interference. They've developed a relationship with their psychology where emotions serve the trading process rather than disrupting it. And this brings us to the central truth that will transform your trading journey if you fully embrace it. Trading isn't a financial challenge that involves psychology, it's a psychological challenge that involves money. Master the psychology, and the dollars will follow with mathematical certainty. The journey toward trading mastery isn't a straight line. It's a daily practice of small psychological victories that compound over time. Each moment you choose discipline over impulse, process over emotion, and patience over urgency adds another brick to the foundation of your inevitable success. Remember that every millionaire trader you admire once stood exactly where you stand now. They felt the same fear, they experienced the same doubt, they faced the same temptation to abandon rules in favor of emotion. What separated them from the masses wasn't talent or luck, it was a relentless commitment to psychological development alongside technical skill. Your most valuable asset as a trader isn't your capital, it's your psychological framework. Money can be replaced, but the mental infrastructure you develop through consistent practice becomes a permanent resource that generates returns throughout your trading career. Every dollar lost following your rules represents tuition in the most important education you'll ever receive. Every emotional battle you win strengthens the neural pathways that support long-term profitability. This perspective transforms how you experience the daily reality of trading. When you define success by process rather than outcome, every day provides opportunities for victory regardless of market conditions. The anxious question, "Did I make money today?" becomes the empowered question, "Did I execute flawlessly today?" This shift creates the psychological stability necessary for consistent performance amid market uncertainty. To accelerate your development, implement this daily psychological practice that has transformed countless trading careers: the evening reflection ritual. Each day after the market closes, answer these 4 questions in writing. First, what emotions did I experience most strongly today, and how did they influence my trading decisions? Second, which rule or principle was most difficult to follow today, and why? Third, what specific action did I take today that most embodied the trader I'm becoming? Fourth, what one psychological adjustment will I implement tomorrow to strengthen my execution? This simple practice creates conscious awareness of the patterns driving your trading behavior. With awareness comes choice, and with choice comes transformation. The insights gained through consistent reflection become the raw material from which you build unshakable discipline. Understand that the path you've chosen isn't easy. The market will test every psychological vulnerability you possess. It will probe for weaknesses in your discipline. It will offer temptations calibrated precisely to your greatest desires. It will present fears tailored exactly to your deepest insecurities. This isn't because the market is malevolent. It's because the market is the perfect mirror, reflecting your psychology back to you with uncompromising clarity. In this reflection lies the greatest opportunity available to any trader. Each emotional response reveals another aspect of yourself requiring integration. Each moment of fear or greed becomes an invitation to strengthen your psychological framework. Each trade becomes not just a financial transaction but a step towards self-mastery. The ultimate paradox of trading psychology is that the path to trading with zero emotion isn't found in becoming emotionless, it's found in developing complete emotional awareness coupled with unbreakable commitment to rules. The professional trader feels deeply but executes precisely, regardless of those feelings. This integration of emotion and discipline creates not just consistent profitability but profound personal development. Your journey doesn't end with financial success. Many traders achieve wealth only to discover that the real value was in the person they became through the process. The psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and unwavering discipline developed through trading extend far beyond market hours, enriching every aspect of life. The decision now before you is simple but profound. Will you continue struggling against your emotional nature, or will you begin the transformative work of integrating emotion into a robust trading process? Will you remain trapped in the amateur's cycle of emotional reactivity, or will you commit to the professional's path of disciplined execution despite emotional pressure? The market doesn't care which path you choose, but your future self and your trading account most certainly does. Choose wisely, execute consistently, and trust the process that transforms psychology into performance. Your next trade awaits, and this time you're ready.